I appreciate your show. I feel like the last caller, I feel like people don't get to have these conversations that much, so great place to have it. Thanks.
Oh, that's why we're here. Thank you. What did you want to talk about today?
Sure. So I actually just found your channel, YouTube. I don't know, it was recommended.
Welcome.
I know. But, I used to be an atheist. Like, I'm not in my 20s anymore. But since I was a kid, like...
I'm sorry to hear both those things.
I feel you, brother.
And, then in my late 20s, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I feel like it was kind of hypocritical of me, like, once I was diagnosed, to kind of beg for something greater, even though, for example, I just didn't, as an atheist, I don't know, so why would I beg and cry out for help for a greater greater being than myself? So I found myself to be somewhat hypocritical. And to be honest, I feel that religion kind of brought a meditative state that I truly enjoyed. And so at the time, it was just for meditational purposes. I feel like the rituals, like Jamie had said, is something that people who are religious are very fond of. And I feel like they take that as God. But afterwards, I experiment a lot. Because of being schizophrenic, I experiment a lot with mushrooms, psilocybin, things of that sort. And I feel like at that moment, looking on to religion, having that fear, and being someone who likes to be out in nature, I feel like for some reason I just couldn't deny that there is a God, maybe not in a religious, like, Christian sense, but that there is a God. In the end, I feel like part of what I share with your channel is that I really don't know. I don't know. And I know that we have like so my question, I'll just get down to it. I feel that believing in something that is bigger than me, than greater, allows me to be gives me more humility. So I'm wondering if now, as someone who does have faith, and it's really just a question, I'm curious because I don't have an answer to it anymore, is do you believe that, this Darwinian-based truth that I feel it's somewhat apparent in people who are atheists, would be a better future for humanity? I feel like it could go one of two roads.
Well, I don't know what Darwin has to do with any of it.
Presumably you mean
like
an explanation.
A scientific-based truth.
Okay. So when you say a scientific-based truth, it kind of sounds like you're talking about there existing more than one truth and them being on equal footing. People live and die in the world based on several things, right? People die of exposure if they don't have a house. People starve if they don't have food.
Sure.
And I think you and I can agree that it doesn't matter who they're praying to when they starve, they still die. That's not a Darwin-based truth or a religious-based truth. That's a reality-based truth. I think that a reality-based truth is the best way to find what's going to help people. And when we examine reality and we do our best to understand the nature around us so we can build better homes and get better food and throw better raves or whatever, then what we find is that the theory of evolution by natural selection is the best way to explain the diversity of life on Earth.
And I just feel like with that model, and I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, to me, I feel like I put a lot of weight behind the word truth. I put a lot of weight behind the word truth. For me, truth is, it's truth. And this is a philosophical thought, and it's not my own.
Philosophical thoughts? We won't have those here. Get out. No.
I know. It was based on that discussion, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it. I'm sure you guys wouldn't be a fan of it too much, but the conversation between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson. And I took a lot away from this conversation from Sam Harris's podcast, where One was arguing that truth is based on science, specifically science, and the other individual was arguing that exactly.
So
it's not.
Well, I'd actually like to chime in before we go too much further.
Sure.
Carlos, first off, you coming in the way you did, talking about your life and saying I don't know to things that are incredibly big. Cheers to you, man. That is so raw, and to stand there and be raw and look forward in life is just so commendable. So thank you. Thank you for doing that and being an example. As far as experimenting, I know we've been talking about drugs a good bit these last couple episodes, so I do just want to say for other people, not for you, but for, you know, other people, I'm sure you know this, Carlos, is drugs are bad. Okay. When you do, if you are looking at doing drugs, talk to your physician, and if you're not going to talk to your physician, at least talk to a friend if you're doing psychedelics to make sure you don't walk out of a window.
To clarify, neither the Atheist Community of Austin or don't take medical advice from a YouTube channel.
With that said,
sorry. We need Andrew in here.
We do. I mean, we do. We need to call that guy.
Yeah. Sorry, Carlos. We got off on our own.
I guess when it comes to truth, yeah, I'm right there with Jamie. Truth is incredibly important. And when you are evaluating truth, the only way that we know how is through the methods that we're using. If you are coming to truth from, you know, some religious pathway, then maybe you could explain it to us, and maybe we can see whether or not, because
Well, in the end, my real question is, I just am curious, if everyone was an atheist, would humanity be better off? That's my ultimate question in this conversation.
All other things
first
being
and foremost,
equal?
I feel like, well, no, I feel like there are, you know, if, I'm sorry, let me just backtrack to the original, like what, Eric, I think his name is, Eric?
That is my name.
Thank you, sir. You know, I feel like there's a lot we don't know. I mean, electrons, that's, you know, I work in science. Like I work for like a big company. All I do is research. That's all I do.
All I do is research.
And it's so weird. It's so weird. But I just, you know, electrons in itself, the way we measure mass, like four-dimensional, like mathematical formulas, all these things are just so trippy. And I feel like we're such primates, though. Like, we don't truly, like, you guys, I feel like atheism tries to, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say you guys, atheism itself tries to base it down towards evidence that we have, right? But
skepticism
there's still that greater unknown. And, you know, we talk about, like, my ultimate question is atheism better?
Sure.
And I don't know.
Do you mean,
you know, and I
to be clear, do you mean, would it be better for people to be atheists or the atheist movement?
Would it be better for the entire world?
So when you're saying, you said, I don't know whether atheism would be better. And it's like, well,
yeah.
For a person or people, or
for
are you
individual,
talking about like the atheist movement and what it's trying to achieve?
No. It's commendable. Like John from Arkansas, that would be a really tough spot to be in, you know? I'm just asking for like, the entire world. If everyone on this planet was an atheist, and I know there are very small cultures that have no like burial grounds, don't believe in any higher beings, but I feel like that's such a small subset of society. I'm just curious, is the entire world, like, what is the ultimate goal?
Yeah, so
that makes sense.
It does.
Your previous caller was at, you know, the community,
and
community and religion is super important.
It is.
And I don't.
We were talking about exactly that, is how community is able to play a large role in our lives, and that has nothing to do with whether or not a God idea is true, right?
Sure.
So when you were saying you cried out and you needed a religion, you feel like it got you through. The worry, number one, is that you have people who tell themselves, I can't do a thing without God. And I can stand here firmly and say that's bullshit, because...
Oh, I get it, man. I have a ton of family who like believe in miracles.
Yeah.
I'm not a miracle guy.
And the thing is we are
not a miracle.
So able to do so much more than we ever give ourselves credit for. When we try and we achieve, we see that we're building up, and it's natural to want to deflect, and it's natural to want to not take on those responsibilities. But I think that if everybody did not have religion, right? If everyone was an atheist, that would have nothing, you wouldn't have anything different about the society per se, because it's just an answer to the God question. But what you would have to contend with is all the baggage that comes with religion. And included in that baggage is things like covering up molestation, right? Covering up spousal abuse, and giving people reasoning to promote their bigotry, right? You have organizations that are tax-free, but also refusing to disclose what tax-free donations they've received are going to, right? You have shadow markets, you have all this money moving around, you have no idea where it's coming from. And I don't think any of those things are beneficial. And so I think that if we were all without religion, I think that we're generally good people. I mean, would we replace it with secular humanism? I think everybody is already, for the most part, moving towards secular humanism, because we are looking out for each other. And whether or not you want to have an outside source that you're crediting it to, in the end, when you are being good to your fellow human being, you're already doing it, aren't you? So I guess the question is why add the extra baggage?
My concern is, and it's super hard. It's hypothetical in and of itself, this conversation that we're having. But I worry that like people would try to find immortality in this lifetime. Does that make sense?
You're worried that people would try and find immortality?
Yeah, like immortality by committing.
I'm gonna go down guns blazing and be remembered forever, or whatever.
Exactly.
Well, if we. Yeah,
I know there are glitches in humans. I mean, I myself have glitches, but I guess right now, like, this has worked so far, and obviously, like you said, we are building a secular humanity with a context within the context of like religion, right? Like, we're moving towards a better self, being more informed with science. Within the context of religion right now. If it was the opposite way, if we were building a different kind of community with an atheist culture, I wouldn't know what that would look like. And it's unfortunate. I wish I did, but we don't know it other than these like small pygmy societies, like cultures. Like,
it doesn't.
We don't have any
to look any
evidence
specific
based on
way.
that.
Yeah.
But also, whether or not the culture would be cool or the most popular dance would be one that I was good at is not right now the biggest concern, the biggest consideration that I have about whether or not I think society should be more secular and more atheist. Because I just don't think that the actual aspect of people believing in ludicrous supernatural things, forgive me for, using synonyms there, but ludicrous supernatural things is beneficial at all. Sure. At one point in this call, just a few minutes ago, you said, but what is the goal? What is the end result? What do we want? Yeah. Have you heard John Lennon's Imagine? Because that's a pretty good song.
And that's beautiful, but I feel like a lot of humans like,
Yeah,
fail to
there's a
live up
lot
to
of
that
things
type
to
of world,
overcome for that.
right?
But in some ways, we can use an analogy of pigs here. You can look at pigs in a trough, and that's a really shitty life to live in, literally. And they're nasty to each other. But when they have enough space and they have enough food, they're not like that at all. Humans are the same way. If you're not hungry and you don't need things, and your neighbor's not hungry and they don't need things, and everyone, like, you have literally the default option of like, I don't really need to do anything right now, and no one around me needs anything. Very, 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 very few humans go, all right, I'm gonna plot a murder, right? Like, no one does that with their Saturday afternoon just for fun, right? And those,
Yeah, no, you're right.
well, yeah.
I mean, some people, I mean, I will say, though, I did work as a farmer. Like, I worked at, like, with
For a
pigs,
second, I thought
and,
you worked as a farmer, you plotted many murders on your Saturdays.
No. But, you know, like, you talk about pigs in space, and we did, like, the whole organic, like, forestry farming. And, like, boars do kill all tiny piglets, all kinds, like, within, you know, so, like, I guess I understand your analogy.
The analogy is not perfect because they're still, boars
sorry.
are still sort of wild animals, but there's a difference between the way that pigs behave when they, never mind.
Ultimately, ultimately, we're drawing the line, we keep specifying away from an atheist world, you know, because there's so many different types of atheists. I've talked to plenty of atheists who don't believe in a God, but do believe in chakras and auras and all of these different magical crystal incantation, tarot, kind of, you know,
sacred geometry.
Yeah, weirdness. And you don't, just because you have answered the God question doesn't mean that you have come to any other greater truths about the world.
If
right?
pizzas are circular and they're served in triangles, why are they in a square box?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, what the hell did that have to do with what I said?
No. It's, you've met all kinds of things that atheists believe. Sorry, I'm lagging behind with my jokes.
That's okay.
Bit. It's like I'm
it's like you're hungover.
By
yeah,
and that's why I completely respect you guys. I mean, I feel like you two and myself take this very seriously.
We are.
This is something that's very important to us.
Well,
but I feel like other individuals don't. Like, this is kind of superficial. Like, we're atheists. But there's a superficial level to it. Like, you know, like, I feel like many people say, I myself said I was an atheist, but as soon as stuff got real, you know, I wanted to believe so bad.
Well, yeah.
I feel like Mr. John from Arkansas, if he was diagnosed with something incredibly horrible, like, that's a quick turnaround that people have.
Well, but here's the thing:
I don't want to be an individual with a quick turnaround just because I'm scared into atheism or scared into religion.
Well, I haven't met a whole lot of people who've been scared into atheism. I have met a lot of people who've been scared into religion, though. And really, when you look at it, it's about whether or not you care about what's true. Because when I was religious, it helped. And when I wasn't religious, it stopped helping. You know, I wished it would be true, but wanting it to be true and then, and believing it is true, were totally different things, right? I can sit here and I can have an existential crisis and I can be afraid of death and I can go, man, I really wish there was a heaven and I could live forever. That doesn't mean that I can close my eyes and just go, oh yeah, no, there's totally a heaven, right? You can't make that
change
happen.
Reality, right? Whether or not you believe in a scary situation is about how you feel, and whether or not you believe that there's a God or you don't believe that there's a God. I don't want you to be scared.
Yeah. So, Carlos, I think this is
there's things that are scary, but that's why we're here. We're here to help other humans.
Thanks a lot, you guys.
Hey, thank you. You take care.
Really appreciate the call.
All
right. Bye.
I really appreciate your time.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Carlos.
Dang, that was a good call.
That was a good call.
I like
Even
that.
if I interrupted your
you did
flow
a couple times,
with a bad joke.
That's okay. We're just gonna, move on forward.